Hi, my name is Dominic Palazzolo, and I'm the owner of Marvelous Molds. Recently, we've come out with some very exciting products, namely the Rosette Ruffle and the Scrunch Ruffle Simpresses. And we've been getting a lot of questions asking whether these molds could be used on tall cakes. And so today, I'm going to make this video to show you how you can use these for tiers taller than 4 inches. So stay tuned and I'll show you how that's done. All right, so we're going to start off with the Rosette Ruffle Simpress. And as you can see, I've already got it loaded with fondant. Now, what I want to stress is that these details are really deep, so you definitely want to push the fondant in really good to make sure that you get all the details. But now what I want to show you is something really, really important when you want to line up one panel next to the other. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your finger and I want you to take this cutting blade, like this wall of silicone. See that? And I want you to push it back. So what we can do is establish kind of a back angle on the fondant. And I'll show you why that's important a little later on. But especially on the sides where that's going to meet with another panel, you want to push it back, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to unmold this. And there is our Rosette Ruffle panel. Now, really quick, I just want to show you, because we've been getting these questions also, people would like to see how the two pieces come together when you're making a 4-inch tall cake. And so as you can see, that's how they come together. And then what you would want to do is use a tool and you can bring over the ruffles and kind of get them closer to each other so that you just will not see a seam from one panel to the next. Okay, now let's talk about how to use the Simpress when we're going to do a tall cake, okay? So let's just imagine that we want to make or apply this decoration to a 6-inch tall cake, all right? So like I showed you before, what we want to do is we want to push the sides in on the Simpress. Now, in the earlier segment, I was pushing this way, all right? And that's because we were going to join them from side to side. But now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be turning the Simpress up this way, and one panel is going to join the other panel side by side, and that's why I'm pushing this side in, okay? So, what we're going to do is unmold that. And now I'm going to take my ruler, and I really want you to watch here, okay? Because there are specific places where I would want you to cut this panel so that it works on a tall cake, all right? So what we said is that we're going to be covering a 6-inch tall cake. The first thing that we want to do is, you see these two tails here? What I want you to do is just turn them out like that, all right? So that it just goes straight across, like little ears, okay? And then we're going to take a blade, a knife, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to cut so that we can cut right here and here. You're just going to line it up and cut that right off, okay? So let's do that, okay? See that? We're just going to remove that. And I want you to notice that we still have a little bit of those little tabs there, and that's a good thing, all right? Now, I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure 6 inches, okay? And I'm just going to put a mark there. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut across the bottom nice and straight. Okay. All right, so there's one panel. Now let's take another panel and just go through the routine here. Okay, just going to cut this again, just straight across. Going to measure 6 inches down. Okay, just mark it right there. And we make our cut. Okay, now let's bring these two side by side and let's talk about what or how you're going to apply these to your cake, okay? So if you put these two panels next to each other, going around the cake, you're going to have the large rosette and a large rosette and all the smaller ones at the bottom. And what happens is these little tabs start crossing each other, and that doesn't look very good. What we want you to do is we want you to turn each one around. Now, do you see that? Do you see how nicely those little tabs work at filling out the corner of the adjacent panel? Okay, see that? Now remember when I talked to you about putting that back angle on the edges that are going to join with another Cimpress panel? The reason why we do that is because it creates kind of like an overlap here. And what that does is it really makes it a lot easier for you to put these together seamlessly. So look how this has gone together. You see that we have a nice big rosette here and the smaller ones at the bottom. And then what happens is the pattern shifts. And so now we have the larger rosette here. So let's bring in another panel. Let's get 3 of them side by side. So what we're going to do is come in with our next panel. And of course, you know, I'm doing this on a tabletop, and I'm doing that so you can really see how this is done, how we're going to actually make the seam disappear. But obviously, you'll be doing this on the side of your cake. But now that I've got 3 panels together, you can see how nicely they all go together, and we have this beautiful progression of the design going all the way through. And there you go. That's the rosette ruffle cut for a 6-inch tall cake. Now what I'd like to show you is how to fill a gap on a tall cake as you're using the rosette ruffle Cimpress. You probably, let's imagine that this is your panel that you started with, and we go all the way around the cake, and we've put on the last panel, and then we have a gap like this, okay? Well, what I did was I measured that gap, okay? And then I cut that width off of a rosette ruffle panel, okay? Now, I'm going to use this panel here, okay? Because I've got these 2 little roses down here and part of the large rosette. And when I put this in, now we all know that this isn't going to be a perfect match, okay? The end of a cake never is, okay? But if you look, when I put that piece in and we use our tool, what we can do is we can bring this together and create something that's really, really going to look nice, okay? And what I like to do is I just like to bring over that ruffle, you see that, in order to fill those gaps. And we'll take this little tail and we'll just push it down like that. And you just try to work in the pattern. So here's a large rosette, and then this is kind of like an extension of it. And then this works in very nicely down here, and you still have that alternating design look around the cake. So that's how you would fill a gap using the rosette ruffle Simpress. And let me tell you, as you can see by the spinning cakes in this video, it's absolutely stunning. Okay, so now that we've explored the rosette ruffle, let's take a look at the scrunch ruffle. And I have the fondant already loaded into the scrunch Simpress. And as before, the sides that we're going to put or join from one panel to the other, we want to push that back. So what we'll do now is we'll just unmold it. Okay. And let's just review how these go together when you're using the Simpress for a 4-inch cake. Okay. So what you do is, remember now, the edge here has a nice back angle on both sides. And what that does is when you bring them together, it's actually the top of the panel that's coming together. And you can see how it just goes together seamlessly. And it really doesn't matter which direction or side that you bring together. Okay. It always is going to go together and really form just a continuous, beautiful texture all the way around your cake. Okay, so now that we've explored using the rosette ruffle for a tall cake, let's talk about the scrunch ruffle Simpress. So here I have the mold already loaded with my fondant, and because now the panels are going to be joining on this side and this side, I am going to put that back angle on it before I unmold it. Okay? All right, so I'm going to turn it over and let's unmold that. Okay, so throughout the film we've been talking about a 6-inch tall cake. And so what we want to do is we want to take our ruler and take a measurement. So you want to bring this all the way up to the top. And we're really going to avoid this little bump here. We're just going to find right where the main structure of the panel is. We're just going to put a little mark there. Okay, and then we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to mark our 6-inch line. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take, this can be a knife or just any straight-edged, sharp blade, and we're just going to cut right across the bottom, just like that. And now we've sized our scrunch panel so it's going to fit onto the cake. Okay, so let's bring a panel over. And when you put it on the cake, it's going to look like this. You're going to bring this side right up to the first panel that you applied onto the cake. And you can see that it's almost camouflaged as it is right now. But take a tool and just try to find those little scrunch loops, okay? And just push them over. This is not going to take long at all. And we're just going to cross over that line. You're just going to camouflage where the two panels meet. Okay? So let's put another panel on there just because. Okay? So we're going to bring that right over. Of course, you're going to be working on your cake. It goes right onto a cake. And then take any kind of a tool where you can kind of put it in to these really cool scrunch ruffles and just bring that line together. And there you have it. There's a nice shot of what that side of your tall cake is going to look like. All right. Now, because we've turned our Simpress perpendicular 90 degrees and we're going around the cake in 4-inch segments, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have a gap between the first panel that you applied to the cake and the last panel that you put on, okay? So what I wanted to show you is how to cut a nice puzzle piece that we're going to put into that gap so that it's going to look nearly perfect, okay? And there's just something to remember when I show you this. Now remember, we put a nice back angle on this side, and so I've measured a gap of about 1.5 inches, okay? And so I'm just going to put a little mark there. Okay, now, when you cut, turn your blade not straight down, but turn it so that it also has a back angle when you cut, okay? Built-in back angle, all right? And there we have a nice piece that we're going to be able to fill into the gap onto the cake. Okay, I'm back, and what I've done is I've simulated the type of gap that you may find on your cake, and here's the piece that we cut. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of fit that right in there, okay? And it's the same drill, all right? Just take these really cool loops and just bring them over. Try to make the line disappear, okay? It really doesn't have to be anything, you know, that you spend a lot of time on. If you just find a little foothold with your tool and just kind of push over, you'll disguise it very, very well. And here you go. Where there once was just this kind of empty space, we filled perfectly, and trust me, no one will ever know where the front or the back of the cake is. So take a look at how well these panels work on a tall cake, and try to find the gap as you watch this cake spin. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found the answers to how to use the Simpress to decorate tall cakes. And as you can see, they do quite a fabulous job creating a cake that your friends, customers, and relatives will think you spent hours making by hand. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We are always coming out with new products, and we're always trying to think of things that are really going to be exciting and helpful to you in the industry. If you haven't, join our email list, our newsletter, so you can know first thing when we come out with something new. Thanks again.